Jacksonville, big man transfer, Stephon Payne in the portal, receiving a good bit of interest from notable power conference schools. Louisville, Indiana have shown interest, LSU, Oklahoma as well. Dion, this is a guy who spent the last 2 seasons at Jacksonville. So Jacksonville native, played his first season of college basketball at Incarnate Word. His numbers aren't going to blow you away. Average 8.4 points, 6.3 rebounds, roughly a block a game and a steal per game for Jacksonville in just over 21 minutes. But from an efficiency standpoint, was 32nd in the country in offensive rebounding percentage. He was top five in the ASUN in both block and steal rate. He's somebody who is probably projects to be a backup big man at the next level, at least transferring up. That's why these teams are interested. And he has shown some, again, really good defensive instincts and what he can do on the glass. What do you make of his game, Dion, and the schools that are pursuing him?
So, two things about Stephon Payne. Um, One, decent backup big. But two, what I think you're looking at when you look at this list of teams, because we got Louisville, Indiana, LSU, Oklahoma. These are big bag teams, right? So I think the rush is the assumption, hey, like Stephon Payne's about to get a bag. I think it's the complete opposite here. I think this is a guy who's looking. He went from Incarnate Word to Jacksonville. He's a backup big at Jacksonville. I think this is a guy that like could in theory get a bag from like a low mid-major team if he wanted to, or he can transfer to the Power Five level, get to experience a Power Five lifestyle. I'm sure he'll get paid something. You know what I mean? Like at this stage in college basketball, nobody's playing for free, right? I'm sure he'll get paid something, but he probably takes a risk check, which allows these schools to funnel the rest of their to fill the rest of their roster out, right? Like these are four schools that have spent a lot of money, are probably looking around like, hey, we have like 500,000 to 1 million left. How do we want to spend it? We can get two guys for the price of one if we get a Stephon Payne Jr.
The other part of these schools, too, is they have loaded up, or at least Louisville in Indiana's case, loaded up on shooters and guys that need the ball and guys that are going to play on the perimeter. He is somebody who I think is appealing because of his physicality, because of his size and what he brings defensively, and the fact you don't need to get him the ball. Like you don't need to draw up plays for him. He's going to be a role player, knows he's going to be a role player too. I would assume transferring up from Jacksonville to a power conference school. He was a role player for Jacksonville. He started a good bit of games, most of their games, each of the last 2 seasons. Um, but was never like one of the focal points of what they were trying to do. So I think you bring that guy in, you're like, okay, you're going to be our eighth or ninth guy in the rotation, be our backup big man, play the role, do the dirty work, and we need to worry about like making you happy as long as you're playing. You know what I mean? And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's valuable. In Louisville's instance, it's kind of what James Scott's role was going to be. And I think you'd rather have James Scott, but he hits the portal. You can replace him with Stephon Payne likely for cheaper. I don't think that's a bad business move. Indiana needs work on the glass. LSU and Oklahoma trying to bolster their front lines as well. I like your point. He's not someone who's going to break the bank, but there's value there.
Exactly. Like he can contribute to your roster. I think he's a guy that's going to accept a very minimal role.
We interrupt this sleepers video to tell you about an offer from Underdog Fantasy. Cart, you love Underdog Fantasy, correct?
Of course I do. Can I have a moment real quick?
Please. Thank you for that. In fact, I'm going to cut you off because our listeners like when we keep these short and sweet. Underdog Fantasy. Sign up as a new user. Use promo code SLEEPERS. Get bonus funds up to $1,000, 50% of your deposit match. The NBA playoffs are rocking right now. I played Underdog last week with a Cade Cunningham line. I'm looking forward to doing it throughout the entire first round of the NBA playoffs, but there's more. You can place picks on golf. You can place picks on baseball. You can place picks on the NHL playoffs that are rocking right now. Join Underdog Fantasy, promo code SLEEPERS. Support this show so that we can keep bringing videos to you. Back to the video.
As well. And if you wind up, like you said, Louisville and Indiana have a lot of shooters. If you wind up having a bigger role for him, I think he could thrive in it based upon what he showed at Jacksonville as well as Incarnate Word. If you don't have that larger of a role, I don't think this is a guy that's going to like break down the coach's door, cause issues in the locker room. I think he's going to be a good locker room guy. Cheap option. And this is the time where these teams are going to have to find these guys. It's not
Yeah.
all $2 to $5 million players, right? Like there's something to be said. To me, college basketball is professional sports now with the way that the money's being, like the way the money's going.
Yeah.
There's something to be said in professional sports about that 12th through 15th man on an NBA roster and just what they do in the locker room
Yep.
and what they do to keep the team uplifted, what they do to keep your stars uplifted. I look at Thanasis for Giannis. There's a million stories about how Giannis plays worse when Thanasis isn't like on the bench.
Yeah.
There's actually like a crazy story from that finals run that's coming out now. Allegedly, Thanasis like had COVID. The Bucks didn't say anything. He came back like 48 hours later because Giannis was like distraught. Like there's something to be said about those guys. Kent Bazemore for Steph Curry in the middle 2010s, Gary Payton Jr. for Steph Curry now. Every star player has their one guy. This guy can be that for some of these teams where it's like this
Mm.
is the guy that the team rallies around, even if he doesn't have the largest role that like other fan bases are going to know about besides whatever school he goes to.
Yeah. He's not a happy to be here guy. Like, I think he has shown enough to warrant a spot on a power conference roster and in a rotation. But he is somebody who we talk all the time about these guys looking for one last big payday going into their senior year, right? That's why we've like talked about Denzel Aberdeen, why he transferred, not an NBA future, probably going to get this is the last big bag he's going to get. Payne going into his senior season, there's some of that as well, kind of chasing the bag. But it's also it's your last chance to play big time college basketball. That's something he hasn't been able to do. And so to be able to do that and contribute for a power conference school, whether that's in the SEC, ACC, or Big Ten, is certainly very appealing.
Yeah, and just being able to be at some of these schools too, right? Like respectfully to Jacksonville, respectfully to Incarnate Word, and them facilities at these four schools that he's considering are just a lot different. Not saying he's a happy to be there guy, like he has earned his ability to have a role. I think there's going to be moments where he's just happy to be on campus. He's happy to go get food from the like whatever their food like dining hall is. He's happy to go like lift weights. He's happy to run around that track because it's all so much different than anything he's ever experienced.
Yeah, whoever lands him, I think, is landing somebody who's going to be a valuable contributor. Not the biggest name, but I think one to monitor. And if I'm Louisville or Indiana in particular, it's probably gonna have a bigger role at LSU or Oklahoma just because of where those teams project. So it could be like, do I want to contend? Do I want to get a bigger role in an SEC school? We'll see kind of how he ends up. But either way, these are no bad options for Stephon Payne.